Story 1. The last photo ever taken of my sister is in an album we keep buried deep in the closet. My mom refuses to throw it away. Says it's one of the only things that proves she was real, that we didn't just dream her up. I hadn't looked at it in years until last month, when I moved back home to help my mom after her surgery. Cleaning the attic, sorting boxes, the kind of slow, quiet work that gives your mind too much space to think. That's when I found the album again. It was blue leather, fraying at the corners, and smelled like old cardboard. Inside were the usual family shots, vacations, holidays, all those forced smiles. But then I got to the birthday page. Her birthday, the 22nd of April, 2007. I felt my chest tighten the second I saw it. There she was, Emily, 7 years old, missing one front tooth, wearing that yellow dress she loved so much. In the picture, she's blowing out candles on a white cake with pink frosting. There are balloons tied to the railing behind her. I'm standing next to her, 10 years old, and already annoyed that I had to share the spotlight. My parents are on either side, leaning in. It looks like any normal birthday photo, until you notice the window. In the background, behind us, is a second-floor window, part of the guest room, that faced the backyard. In that window, behind the glass, is a face. Pale, narrow, just barely visible through the reflection. But it's there, and it's not one of us. I stared at it for a long time. I don't remember anyone being upstairs. That room was locked during the party. We only ever used it for guests, and no one was visiting that week. I pulled the album closer to my face, trying to make out more details. The head was tilted, just slightly. Eyes wide, mouth small and tight if it was whispering. There was something wrong with the proportion, the way it fit behind the glass. Too close to the window, too still. I showed the photo to my mom. Her face went pale. She said, "That wasn't there before." I asked her what she meant. She swore up and down that she'd looked at that photo 100 times after Emily disappeared, and that face had never been in it. But I knew better. It had always been there. We just didn't want to see it. That day was the last time any of us saw her. Emily had gone inside to get another juice box. Said she wanted the grape kind, not the apple. It was broad daylight. Music is still playing from the yard speakers. There were a dozen people outside, laughing, eating cake, and drinking soda. No one heard a scream. No one saw anyone leave. My dad checked the bathroom, the kitchen, and the garage. My mom ran from room to room calling her name. I checked the playhouse in the backyard. Nothing. She was just gone. Police came within the hour, searched the neighborhood, drained the pool, asked the neighbors. It became a media thing. Reporters parked outside our house for days. Volunteers in yellow vests combed the woods. Nothing ever turned up. No one could explain how a 7-year-old vanished from a birthday party surrounded by family. Now, 17 years later, I'm staring at a photo we've all seen 100 times and noticing the one thing that doesn't belong. That face. I scanned the picture, uploaded it to my laptop, and tried enhancing it, adjusting the brightness, boosting contrast, sharpening edges. The face became clearer. Male, thin lips, black hollow eyes like they were carved into the image. I checked other photos from that day, zooming in on backgrounds, reflections, and windows. He's in 5 of them. Not always obvious. Sometimes just a shadow in the corner. Sometimes a smudge on glass. But it's the same face, same expression, and always watching her. Never me. Never my parents. Just Emily. After I saw the face in all 5 photos, something in me cracked. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't stop zooming in, adjusting shadows, hunting for more of him. It was like that face had been hiding in plain sight for years, waiting for someone to finally acknowledge it. I tried to convince myself it was some kind of trick of the light or reflection, but every enhancement I ran, every overlay comparison, no, it was real. Not a smudge, not dust, a person, a figure, always in the background, always closer than he should have been, My mom didn't want to hear it. She begged me to stop, said she couldn't go through it again. She even tried taking the album and hiding it from me, but it was too late. I'd already scanned them all. Then I did something I'd never done before. I checked the metadata. Most of the photos were digital, taken on our old Canon PowerShot. Every photo had timestamps, coordinates, and exposure data. The birthday pictures all matched, except for one, the last image. It was the only photo that wasn't taken by either of my parents. That camera only had 2 users registered, Mom and Dad, but the final photo of Emily wasn't tagged to either of them. The timestamp said 6:17 p.m. Everyone remembered Emily disappearing around 5:50. That picture showed her asleep, lying on her side, in what looked like a dark, concrete room. The lighting was dim, just enough to see her face. Her eyes were closed. Her hair is messy, like she'd been crying. Her hands were curled beneath her cheek. She looked peaceful, but terrified. And the part that made my blood turn to ice was the shadow in the corner of the image. You could only see part of it, the edge of a coat sleeve, a hint of a boot, but it was enough. Someone had taken that photo of her after she vanished on our family camera. I took everything to the police. I walked into the station and showed the detective the scanned photo files, the metadata, and the face in the window. He didn't dismiss me. He sat in silence, flipping through each image with growing tension in his eyes. When he saw the last one, he called for someone else, a tech. They took the files and told me they'd be in touch. A few days later, they called me back. The camera data matched. The file was real. But that last photo, it had been hidden in a part of the camera's memory that wasn't accessible under normal conditions. They said someone had to intentionally store it there, in a segment used for diagnostic images. They also told me the timestamp couldn't be faked. The camera's internal clock had recorded the photo at exactly 6:17 p.m. on the 22nd of April, 2007, which meant, while the police were already at our house, someone inside had taken a picture of Emily. They had already been in the house. The face in the window, that wasn't someone watching from outside. It was someone watching from a locked room, the same room she went missing. I asked to see the case file, to know who had been investigated, but most of it had been sealed. No arrests, no suspects, just a note that the guest room window had been cracked open, barely enough for airflow, not enough for a person. But they were wrong. Someone was there. Someone we never saw. Someone who walked around our house during that party, unnoticed, silent, watching her. And when she went in for a juice box, he was already waiting. I don't know why the photo surfaced now. I don't know why that shadowy face appeared after all these years. But I know one thing. He wanted me to see. He wanted someone to know. My sister didn't just vanish. She was taken. And the person who took her was standing behind us the entire time, smiling through the glass. Story 2. We thought it would be a perfect way to end the summer. One last trip before we all scattered for college. Just 3 of us. Me, Darren, and Kyle. Heading into the mountains with nothing but backpacks, trail mix, and one of those cheap Polaroid cameras we bought for laughs. The kind that spits out instant prints so we could hang them on our dorm walls later. The plan was simple. Hike out, pitch a tent, sit around the fire, tell stories, take some dumb pictures, and be home by Sunday. It started out that way. Clear skies, birds, nothing but trees and sun and the crunch of boots on pine needles. We were about 5 miles in when we found the clearing. A nice flat patch surrounded by trees on 3 sides, with a small creek running nearby. We set up camp, built a fire, and started messing around with the camera. Most of the pictures were goofy. Us making faces. Darren is pretending to fall in the creek. Kyle is holding a stick like a sword. We pinned them to a line between 2 trees to dry. That night, something felt off. The woods were too quiet. I've been camping all my life, and I know what normal nighttime sounds like. Crickets, rustling, the occasional hoot of an owl. But around midnight, everything just stopped. The air went still. The fire dimmed, and from somewhere deep in the trees we heard a sound that didn't belong. A crunch. Slow. Deliberate. Like someone walking in boots, trying not to be heard. Darren called out, jokingly at first. We got company. No one answered. Kyle grabbed a flashlight and swept it toward the noise. Nothing. Just trees. Blackness. We stayed up a little longer, talking louder than we needed to. Eventually, we went into the tent. I didn't sleep. The next morning, Kyle was gone. His sleeping bag was unzipped, laid out like he had simply gotten up. His boots were gone. So was his pack. At first, we thought he was playing a prank. Maybe went to the creek to mess with us. But we searched for hours. No footprints, no note, just gone. We hiked to the closest ranger station and reported it. Search and rescue showed up. Dogs, drones, everything. After 3 days, they found nothing. No trail, no belongings, no signs of a struggle. Just us, 2 friends, sitting at a fire that now felt too big, too exposed. When I got home, I didn't talk about it. Not for a long time. I put the Polaroids in a shoebox and shoved them into my closet. Darren and I drifted apart. Every conversation felt like stepping around a hole we couldn't see the bottom of. I tried to forget it. We all did. For years. Until last week. I was packing to move apartments when I found the shoebox again. I opened it, more curious than scared. The top few photos were the ones I remembered. Dumb poses. Trees. Kyle is balancing on a log. But about halfway through, I found one I didn't recognize. It was a photo of the 3 of us sitting around the campfire. The angle was strange, like it had been taken from behind a tree, maybe 20 feet away. None of us had taken it. I know we didn't. It wasn't on the line that night. It wasn't in the stack I brought home. In the photo, we're all laughing. The fire is bright. The moment looks real. But behind us, in the trees, there's someone standing. Just beyond the ring of light. Tall, thin, blurred, like they moved right as the photo snapped. You can only see part of their body, a shoulder, the shape of a face, but it's there. I stared at that photo for hours. It was real. I flipped it over, expecting to see a blank back, but there was something written there in shaky black pen. Just one word. Closer. I didn't sleep after finding that photo. It sat on my desk under the lamp, taunting me with that single word. Closer. I scanned it, zoomed in, enhanced shadows. Anything to get a better look at the figure in the trees. The blur didn't help. You could make out the shape of a shoulder, the edge of a jawline, and a single hand hanging too low. The fingers were long. Wrong. Almost like they'd been broken and reassembled without a blueprint. I sent it to Darren. He called me 10 minutes later, his voice low and shaky. That photo wasn't there. I swear. I checked the stack before we left. Every picture was accounted for. I would have remembered that one. We both fell silent knowing what that meant. Someone else had the camera. Someone else took that photo. I posted it on a wilderness forum, asking if anyone had seen anything like it. A day passed. Then 2. And then I got a private message. The username was a string of numbers. The message said, "I've seen him too. It starts with photos, then the dreams." That was it. No explanation, no links. I replied asking who they were, what they meant. No response. I refreshed the page, and the message was gone. Deleted. The user account didn't exist anymore. That night, I dreamed of the clearing again. But it was wrong. The trees were too tall. The fire was dead. I stood there alone, turning in slow circles, knowing something was watching me just beyond the dark. I woke up, drenched in sweat, heart pounding, and with the unmistakable smell of campfire smoke in my room. I live in an apartment. No fireplace, no smoke. 2 days later, I got a package in the mail. No return address. Just my name, written in shaky block letters. Inside was another Polaroid. I froze the second I saw it. It was my room. My bed, taken from above, like someone had stood in the corner near the ceiling and snapped it while I was asleep. And at the foot of the bed, barely visible in the shadow, was the same figure. Tall, lean, hands too long, just standing there, facing me. The angle was impossible. There's nothing in my room that high, no furniture that tall, no shelf. I called Darren again. No answer. I called 5 more times, nothing. I drove to his place. His car was outside. Lights off. I knocked, then banged. I called out his name. No sound. I circled around and peeked through the window. His television was on, showing static. No sign of him. I tried the doorknob. Unlocked. The place was cold, air stale, like no one had lived there for days. I found his phone on the kitchen counter, and the screen was cracked. I found his shoes by the couch, but no Darren. I backed out slowly, heart hammering, not sure if I should call the police or burn the place down. I got into my car and looked into the rearview mirror. The back seat was empty, but for a second, just one, I swear I saw a face reflected in the window. Not mine, not Darren's, something else. That night, I went through every Polaroid I still had, and I found another one that didn't belong. Same format, same camera, but this time, it wasn't from the camping trip. It was recent. It showed me standing in front of my apartment building, keys in hand, back turned to the camera, taken from across the street. The timestamp? It said 3:17 a.m. I was asleep at 3:17, or thought I was. I don't go outside anymore. I covered every window. I sleep with the lights on, and still, every morning, I found a new photo slid under my door. Each one is closer. Each one sharper. I haven't seen the figure again. Not with my eyes. But I know he's there. Waiting. Watching. And yesterday, for the first time, there was no photo. Just a note. Same handwriting as before. You're next. Story 3. I bought the photo frame because it was cheap and had a nice vintage look to it. Old wood, carved edges, a little cracked in the corners, but it felt like something that belonged in a cozy room. I was at this tiny thrift store tucked into the edge of a strip mall, the kind of place where everything smells like someone else's attic. The woman behind the counter barely looked up when I brought it over. It cost $3. I brought it home, set it on the table, and opened the back to replace the generic image it came with, a stock photo of a lake with 2 ducks. But behind that was another picture, a real one. Tucked inside, pressed flat against the glass, was a black and white photo of a family. Father, mother, 2 kids. Everyone dressed like it was the 1960s. The father wore suspenders. The mother had her hair curled in that old-fashioned way, and the kids, a boy and a girl, stood stiffly in front. Everyone was smiling, but it wasn't a normal smile. It was too wide, too even. All 4 faces held the same expression, like it had been copied and pasted. Something about their eyes made my stomach twist. They were looking at the camera, but not like they were being photographed, like they were waiting. I almost threw it away, but something stopped me. Maybe it was morbid curiosity. Maybe it was the way the girl's eyes seemed to follow me when I tilted the frame. I kept it. That night, I had a strange dream. I was standing in a room I didn't recognize. Wallpaper peeling. Wooden floor creaking under my feet. It was cold. I turned slowly, and there they were. The family from the photo, standing side by side. Same clothes, same smile, same glassy eyes. They didn't move, didn't speak, just stared. I woke up gasping, heart racing, hands cold. I told myself it was just the photo messing with me. But the next night, it happened again. Same room, same silence. This time, the girl took 1 step forward. I screamed myself awake. I put the frame in a drawer, closed it, tried to forget, but the dreams didn't stop. Every night they came closer. The father's shoes scraped against the floor. The boy tilted his head. The mother opened her mouth like she was about to say something, but never did. Just wide eyes and grinning teeth. I started leaving the lights on, drinking before bed, anything to keep them away. But they came anyway. A week later, I pulled the photo out again. I had to know. I flipped it over, hoping maybe there'd be a name or a date. There was writing, faint, in pencil, just 5 words. Do not look at them. My hands went numb. I flipped the photo back and stared into those faces. Their eyes seemed darker now. The daughter's mouth had shifted, just slightly, as if she were smirking. I took the picture to a photo restoration place, asked if they could tell me more. The guy looked at it under a light box and frowned. This doesn't look like it was taken with a normal lens, he said. There's distortion here, like it was shot through thick glass, or from a mirror. I asked what that meant. He shrugged. Maybe someone photographed a reflection. That night, I dreamed I was holding the camera, and they were staring at me from inside the glass. I burned the photo. That was my solution. One night, after another dream where the girl had moved so close I could see the freckles on her cheeks, I tore the picture from the frame, took it out to the back alley, and set it on fire. It curled, hissed, and turned black, flaking into ashes like any normal piece of paper would. I felt relief, like I'd broken a curse. I even slept that night. No dreams. No whispering in the dark. Just silence. For the first time in over a week, I didn't wake up gasping. I told myself it was over, that whatever had attached itself to that photo had gone up in flames with it, until I woke up the next morning and found the frame back on my nightstand. Same spot, clean, empty, except it wasn't empty. Inside was the same black and white photo, not burned, not even wrinkled, just sitting there, behind the glass, pristine. I stared at it for a long time, trying to find some logic. I searched the house, no sign of a break-in, nothing out of place. But the photo was real, tangible. I touched it through the glass, half expecting it to vanish. It didn't, and now there were 5 people in the picture. The new one was standing just behind the father, and it was me. Same clothes I wore the day before, same tired eyes, same scar on my left cheek. It wasn't a mistake. It was me. I stopped eating. I stopped going out. I unplugged my phone, locked my doors, and sat in the corner of my living room with every light on, just watching that frame. Hours passed. Nothing changed. Until I blinked. Just once. A second of darkness. And when my eyes opened again, the photo had changed. Now my reflection was gone from the glass, but someone else had joined. A woman. I recognized her. She lived upstairs. I'd passed her in the hall a few times and said hello in the elevator. She was in the frame now, standing next to the daughter, her mouth hanging open like she'd been mid-scream when the photo was taken. I ran to the building manager and asked if she'd been seen lately. He shrugged, said he hadn't noticed her for a few days. I didn't bother calling the police. What was I going to tell them? A haunted picture is collecting souls? Instead, I went back home and did something I should have done from the start. I broke the frame, shattered it against the floor. Glass flew, splinters cracked, and the photo slid free. But it was blank now, just a sheet of white paper. I picked it up, hands trembling, turned it over. 5 words. Same shaky handwriting. Thanks for letting us in. That night, I dreamed again. Only this time, I wasn't watching them. I was standing beside them. Same room, same silence, same smile. And when I woke up, I wasn't in my apartment. I was standing in a different room. A real one. Wallpaper peeling, wood creaking. The same one from every dream. And in front of me, on a dusty dresser, was a Polaroid camera, with one photo sticking out. Developing slowly, I didn't want to look, but I did. It was my old bedroom, from the corner ceiling angle, and lying in bed, eyes closed, was I. Still asleep, still there, trapped in that final moment before everything fades. before the shutter clicks one last time. And now, I'm just another smile in the frame, waiting to be seen.